Xtreme scoring to do the work for you.
In the town of Bathurst, Australia, you will eventually come across the hills that are home to a racetrack of the Mount Panorama circuit, and we are here for round 3 of season 3 of the SBO Network's American Muscle Series from the virtual Mount Panorama circuit. And my name is Alex Andersen. I am joined in the commentary booth by Tom, Dillon, and with Robert Schwenkler doing cameras in our virtual production truck. A bit of information about this iconic circuit before we get started here tonight with the show. Bathurst Mount Panorama Circuit has become an incredible part of Australian sporting history and a gathering place for petrol heads all over the world thanks to its mix of speed, danger, and endurance. Winding its way up and down a hillside, the circuit has been enchanting racing fans since the 1930s and remains one of the most challenging circuits in world motorsport. Winning here, whatever category, is a major accolade for any racing driver. The program of events has expanded in recent years to not only include the Bathurst 1000, but also the Bathurst 12 Hours for international GT cars, the 6-hour production car enduro, Challenge Bathurst for all corners, and the Bathurst International for the Australian Racing Group's roster of categories. And with that, we are here for probably what I'm going to go out on a limb and say is the best races for the SBO Network's American Muscle Series. Just a lot of fantastic racing that we've seen here in the past, and I think we're in for a really good show again tonight here, Tom.
Absolutely, and it's one of those tracks that just does make your mouth water. The Mount Panorama circuit, whether it's the 12 hours that takes place here, or whether it's of course the Bathurst 1000, it always delivers some absolutely wonderful racing, and this series always delivers some absolutely wonderful racing, so I'm expecting simply more of the same this evening, as we currently follow on board with Aero Nom, the man who is favourite for this championship, we should say, winning last time out on a bit of catch-up after missing the first race. But a 40-minute race ahead of us, Alex. Fixed setup and limited tyre sets. It should be a very exciting race. Not the easiest place to pass, though.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the main things about this track, and something that we saw last time we covered a race here for this series, is that a lot of passes that you're going to see are going to happen down the Conrod Straight and into the Chase, which is that final straightaway that leads into that massive chicane there before the final corner. And with that slipstream you can get down that straightaway and how pretty boxy and heavy these cars are, that's going to be a big part of passing here tonight.
Absolutely, and they're very similar, these cars, in many respects to the V8 supercars. They're very loud, they're very heavy, they're very angry. Of course, V8 supercars quite faster around this circuit, significantly more downforce. However, in terms of sort of characteristics, other than that, they're relatively similar, an American muscle car. And these Ford Mustangs are going to be ones that you really have to lug around the mountain, as we're seeing demonstrated by Aero Nom right now, as he's getting very close to the barriers out of the exit of the left-hander. And up here, right on board, actually, with Aero Nom, down into the last part of the ascendancy of the hill. Left-hander just about lifting off, using all of the curb on the outside. And then just keeping the car nice and poised through here. Now it's for the descent. Alex, you head down and just keep the car turned in. He's absolutely all over the road there, but it's certainly the fastest way to get round. Turns in slightly early for the left-hander. Just about misses the barrier on the inside. And then now down into the hairpin. Car just hooked around quite nicely for Aero Nom. Absolutely got the best of this as he opens the car up down the back straight here at Bathurst, and this is actually the Conrod Straight, I should say, as he goes down into the Chase, just keeping the car nice and poised. For some reason, he's trying to activate the tyres through here. Not quite worked for him. Brakes very early. These cars not having the greatest of brakes into third gear. and then just keep it nice and on the edge, using a lot of the curb here. These cars essentially have to use all of the track, otherwise you end up taking too little speed through the corners. Second gear for the final, and then down, heading down the pitch straight up into Hell's Corner. It's going to be a 122.3 for Aero Nom, and that, 123.3 I should say, and that should be pretty competitive. They will have to go again.
Yeah, Luis Henriquez actually just went fastest there with a 2:33.0, so and that is almost 3/10 faster than Aero Nom's time, which is not something you really see every day. But honestly, I gotta point out something on Aero Nom's car that could be affecting that. If we go back to a view on him, if you take a look at that left side to us, the right side of his car, that fender, that bumper is a little bit pushed in there. That could very well be affecting the handling of this race car, especially because in sim time, it is winter in Australia, meaning it's a very cool track, clear skies, and it's not as cool as Sandown. It's a little bit hotter at this part of Australia, and that could very well, as well as that damage, be affecting the handling of that race car.
Well, of course, wintertime in Australia in real life as well, as we're running a real weather plugin on this server. That being said, it's 18 degrees on circuit, which means it's no hotter really than if you were to run in Europe, I suppose, at this time of year, depending on the timing. I suppose if you're running a real weather plugin, it wouldn't be as hot as it would be in Europe during the night. Of course, it is just about morning time for the Australians, probably coming up on lunch, as we see Joe Stout heading up. He's currently pole position quite emphatically in the Challenger class.
Yeah, and he's doing a great job there as he heads up that hairpin. I believe that's the corner known as the cutting there. Now he's going to head through the Griffin's Mount and into Reed Park there. Up the hill to the last part of the ascent into Solomon Park there. Now he's going to come back down the hill for the first time tonight, or not tonight on this lap, well. And he's going to continue his descent into McPhillamy Park. I believe that's how you say that. And then right here, this is where it really gets interesting. Like you say, it's known as the skyline, this part of the racetrack, and you gotta go as fast as you can down this tight series of corners. Be careful not to hit any walls or lose control of this car, as the rear end can get very light down those heavy elevation changes into a little few more chicanes and into the final corner before the Conrod straight known as Forest Elbow. And this is where we're talking about the slipstream opportunities. You can see how long that straight is off that camera right there as he heads under the Jim Beam Bridge. It's a very long straightaway, and this is where we think the slipstream is going to play a factor. It's actually Aero Nom just went fastest again with a 222.7. So looks like that damage isn't really affecting him all that much. But then you have to, it's a right-hand kink down into the chase. A bit of a 90-degree corner rule. Looks like Stout missed it just a tad there. Oh, and he's off and he's around. And unfortunately, that is going to end his lap, and he's going to have to throw it through Murray's corner and try it all over again here. As we take a look at this, is Schultes here, who is currently in the lead in qualifying for the amateur class here. Reminder, there are 3 classes here tonight, and it looks like our winner of the previous 2 races for the amateur class, Edgar Sanchinelli, is not here with us tonight. We have gotten word that it could be due to PC issues, and it could be a great opportunity for somebody like Schultes to try and win here tonight.
Is Sanchinelli not in 14th? I can see he set a lap time.
Oh, well, excuse me. I guess I didn't see that.
No, I appreciate it. You've got the same message as I have. No, it was contentious as to whether he'd be able to race this evening, Edgar Sanchinelli, but it looks like at the moment, whatever gremlins he's got in his PC are well and truly out, though they can present themselves at any opportunity, and he's certainly not on pole position at the moment, as we see Schultes heading down Skyline. It's called Skyline, of course. That's all you can see at that stage. You just have to chuck it in and hope. And that's going to be interesting with 30 cars down into turn 1. Here's a good camera angle on board, as you can really just see how big and heavy this car is as it heads down into the cutting. Forest Elbow, I should say, not the cutting.
He's going to head down the Conrod straight once again. Here opens up the throttle. I do believe he might have hit the wall earlier, which could cancel out this lap, but he still has the pole for the amateur class by quite a bit here, so even if that does happen, nothing to be ashamed of. He still has pole by quite a bit here. And Chris Schulte's just doing a great job, and Sancinelli won the first 2 races, and if he doesn't improve that lap time, he's going to have some work to do over the course of our 40-minute race here tonight.
Oh, he's gone deep.
Ooh, into the chase. It looked like, it sounded like it was something to do with the clutch there, like the car wouldn't go into gear there.
I'm not too sure. I think he just outbroke himself ever so slightly. These cars have got really quite nasty brakes, as that is the checker flag in the qualifying session. Is Schulte's actually been chalked out for some reason of that lap. Here is the grid then that we've got at the moment. Aero Nom is on pole position. Luis Enriquez is in second. Scotty Banks starts third. Joseph Stout is on pole position for Challenger in fourth position overall. Brian Howard then in fifth. Clint Fletcher in sixth. Eric Ronenberg in seventh. Jay Bast in second for Challenger, eighth overall. Then it's Phil Keck, Chris Schultes, David Clymer. Schultes, of course, being on the AM pole position. Then it's Jesse Hodson in 12th position.
Jason Gata in 13th there. He's, I believe, still in the top 5 for the Challenger class there, but he has a long ways before he catches up to Stout there. It's Matthew Guzenda in 14th, Edgar Sancinelli in 15th, Roger Clark in 16th, Michael Puchik in 17th, Chuck Lebano in 18th, Jay Little in 19th, David Blair in 20th, Roy Baker in 21st, Mike Thompson in 22nd, Martin Bork in 23rd, and Stefan Price in 24th.
25th is Mike Nickham, then Jeff Besnard, Matthew Thompson in 27th, Scott Brooks in 28th, Brandon Carl starts 29th, then it's Tom Wentz, Brian Nagy, Michael Key, Kenny Meadows, Randall McGrew is not racing this.
I believe he's race control.
He's in race control indeed. Then Mike Taylor in the Challenger class, so I can only assume that he is racing in 35th, although he hasn't set a lap, so that might be something there. He might just be a little bit been set behind Randall McGrew just through a limitation on the game. They're going to get rolling here though as we head down to the start of this race.
And actually, it looks like Mike Taylor not on the grid at the moment because he does have a pit start penalty for an incident at Imola, which we saw a big accident into Aqua Minerale. There was a big pile up there on the opening lap of that race, so that could be why Taylor has to start from the pits in this race. But everybody else is on the grid and following the iRacing safety car, and at the end of the Conrad Straight, we're going to head into the chase through Murray's Corner and get racing here as the anticipation builds for what I'm going to say, for myself at least, is probably one of the best races on the schedule for these guys in the SBO Network's American Muscle Series. They always put on a great show here, and under the tire bridge, I believe it's a Bridgestone tire bridge, I could be incorrect on that, but they're going to head under that bridge. The iRacing safety car is going to dive into the safety of the pit lane, and these guys are going to head through Murray's Corner as the anticipation builds, and oh boy, it's all up to the flagman. Here they come down the main straight, and they're on the gas. And then we're racing here for round 3 of the SBO Network's American Muscle Series. Aero Nom easily gets the lead as they head down into Hell Corner. It looks like Scotty Banks trying to get second there on the inside. Him and Henriquez are going to go side by side up the mountain straight here. That's a car on the grass back there. That might have been Stout back there as everybody else turns the first corner. And it looks like clean and green so far as Aero Nom easily takes the lead as they head back down the hill, only to go up it once more. Still side by side back there for fifth. That's Stout and Howard there. Looks like they're going to get single file by the time they get to the end of the mountain straight as they head up the hill now. And they're going to head straight towards the cutting here. Hard on the brakes into this hairpin to turn themselves right back around here. Henriquez has got to step on it, but if he catches up to Aero Nom, he has to be really patient through this slow middle sector. It's known as a notorious place where you cannot make moves. So if he wants to try and make a move on Aero Nom down the Conrad Straight, he's going to have to be patient in this middle sector.
Nom is absolutely gone and away. He's checked out and won't be looking back, I don't think. 8 tenths of a second in 2 sectors he's managed to pull out. And it's not like Enriquez has particularly had much pressure from Banks behind. It's just the absolute incredible pace that Aero Nom is as they throw the cars down into Skyline and just about get going here. And it looks like there's actually a little bit of damage for Banks just behind Enriquez. As you can see, the front of that car not looking very healthy at all. The lights that he's running have actually broken, so he must have made a little bit of contact with a barrier down into Skyline. The front two look okay at the moment, and it's 1 second that Nom has now pulled out, so I suspect he's going to continue to fly it into the distance. But look at the state of that Ford Mustang.
And actually, I do think that Henriquez might have made a mistake in Forrest's elbow there, which could have costed him a bit of time. It looked like on the rear bumper camera, that number 8 car, it looked like he might have tapped the wall a little bit, and that's allowed Scotty Banks to close the gap using that slipstream a little bit as they head through the chase, just eating that curb, and onto the grass a little bit goes Henriquez as they head back towards Murray's Corner to do it all over again here. Looks like we have a replay here for Clint Fletcher. Something might have happened to him as we're looking at Mike Nickham here. 2 cars in front of him going side by side through the chase. That's 1 car letting off the gas there, presumably to let the other 2 by. That's Brandon Carl in front of Nickham. And actually, that's a car spun around off track. I believe that was Clint Fletcher there. Here he is as he's heading down into the chase. He's got the draft off the 105 car. That's Joseph Stout in front of him. And he's in the 04. He breaks into the chase and looks like just threw it into the corner too hard. Ends up spinning out. Some great driving by the car behind him to miss it. No harm, no foul. Only to the positions, but that car no damage at all. But still very unfortunate. He was on track for 6th place, and he was doing very well early on in this race.
Still want to keep an eye on Banks just behind Enriquez, who is just 5 tenths of a second. He's still hanging on in there despite the car not looking the best. Of course, very little downforce here, so barring suspension damage, I don't think much aerodynamic damage is going to have too much of a bearing on the performance. Excuse me, he'll certainly be trying to get that fixed in the pit lane if he can. And I do also want to take this moment actually to mention that we've got a giveaway going on in this stream this evening. Gunfire Games have just released Remnant from the Ashes, and it's available for PC, Xbox and PlayStation. You can actually enter a chance to win a copy of this game via the link in the description, so I believe that will be open all the way throughout tonight's broadcast and perhaps for a little bit afterwards, so feel free to try your luck there as we head back to the action here and follow along with Joe Stout, who's leading the way to the tune of 3.9 seconds ahead of Bast, 4 seconds now in the Challenger division. Aero Nom, however, is at the front and leading the way quite emphatically in the Pro division himself.
And Henriquez really needs to start to get focused here if he wants to catch up to Aero Nom. I mean, Aero Nom, he really is the intimidator in this series. Everybody tries to catch up to him, and they just end up losing time slowly but surely here. Henriquez, however, is not falling off so early, but due to the aggressive elevation changes and sharp corners here on this track, it is possible that Henriquez could be burning up his tires, and we could see people pitting and taking 2 or 4 tires as well as their fuel stop. But it is also just raw speed. That's a car spinning back there as Henriquez just set the fastest lap with a 2:22.5. But this is Ronenberg here onto the grass a little bit. He keeps it on track and straight here. Looks like as they head into Murray's Corner behind the 153 car, and it looks like he followed the 153 car into the grass, and that really upset the rear end of that car, sends it right around into Murray's Corner, and ends up setting him back a bunch of places, ends up getting it back onto the track with no damage, but really unfortunate as actually Henriquez is starting to close the gap here. It was 1.2 seconds when they were heading down Conrad Straight. Now it's down to 8 tenths of a second there as they head through the cutting. So Luis Henriquez, he's doing a pretty good job there for himself. He just needs to stay focused, keep his head straight, and just try and catch up to the rear bumper of that number 1 car. As Chuck Labano heading up into the cutting there. Looks like he was side by side with the car behind him. I believe that was Blair there in the 236. So pretty good move up there into the cutting. It's a pretty tight area where there's not a lot of room to make moves. So a good job by Chuck Lebanon in the amateur class to move himself into the top 5 as Schultes currently has run away with the amateur lead, just like Stout has with the challengers. We get a great helicopter view here that's going to take us through the skyline into the S's and the Dipper here, showing you the real elevation changes and challenges of this circuit as we see more cars in front of him that are racing up there. And just look at how twisty this section of racetrack is. It's so hard to get through, and just your applause has to go out to all of these drivers braving the tough mountain circuit and still being able to race each other and go extremely fast in these Ford Mustangs through it. This Chuck Lebanon is now going to get draft off of Bork in front of him, which could lead to an overtake into the chase.
We'll have to wait and see, as they have not got the best of brakes, these cars, and that can make it rather difficult. Now, a message from race control was that a pace lap incident is going to have a post-race review. So we'll wait to see what happens there. Here down into the chase. He's still just behind his Chuck Lebanon of Bork, just ahead of him. And it's going to be a rather difficult thing to overtake here. He's going to look to the inside, think against it in the end rather sensibly. The car ahead of them has got a little bit of damage as well. That is not one of their own class cars. I'm not too sure who that is in the number
that's
100
in the 102.
It is, it's
in the
Buchik.
Challenger class.
And he's struggling along a little bit at the moment, isn't he? But here we go. Up the main straight here, really, at Bathurst in many respects. Is there going to be a move from Lebanon? He's got all the slipstream in the world here. Has he got all the straight line speed as well? He's bump drafting down this straight practically and all but actually making contact. Now he's going to pull to the inside to think about a move, but I think he knows as much as anyone that it's a difficult corner to overtake in these Ford Mustangs.
Yeah, it looks like he backed off the throttle a little bit there heading into turn 2 there. So smart move by him to follow along with Bork here as he knows he's close enough to make a move at any given time. But I want to go back up to the leaders of this race here because Henriquez has closed this gap and he is still holding on to it as these guys head through Skyline down into the S's. Henriquez needs to maintain this gap and he could maybe go for a move down the Conrad straight here as they head towards Forest Selbo. Henriquez needs to not make a mistake here. We've seen him get really close to the wall on exit. Ooh, again, he did it as well. Looks like he might have gotten a better exit than Aeronam as well, though. He's going to have draft down the Conrad straight and into the chase. However, I don't think it's going to be close enough for him to be just on Aeronam's bumper to be able to make a move.
No, I don't think he's going to be close enough for a very long time either. I think Aeronam is just holding on to this one, and I actually think he's got pace in the bag. You don't go 8 tenths faster than anyone else in a practice session and then go and lose the race just by being a little bit poor on your race pace. I think there's some, not necessarily mind games, but some strategy at play here. I don't actually believe that Enriquez is faster than Nam at this stage, as I think Nam has got something in the bank just ready to unleash. Enriquez, however, is going to hope for the moment.
Enriquez is still setting faster laps than Aeronam, so slowly but surely he is closing this gap, but that could mean that he is burning off his tires. And I mean, we mentioned it before that the mountainous nature and elevation and sharp corners of this track could lead to drivers taking 2 or 4 tires. So like you said, with Aeronam having a strategy, he could be trying to just save those tires on that number 1 Mustang to try and maybe go into the pits and not have to change his tires at all, which would be a very smart strategy and could keep the number 8 car of Luis Enriquez at bay.
As we have a look at Jason Gotter, who is trying to make a move. This is on Hodson, and down the inside into a corner where really you shouldn't be making a move down the inside, and he's going to get it. I think they might still be just about side by side, but I think here Gotter's actually going to have to concede this one. Back down the inside, they're still side by side here. Is it going to be Gotter or is it going to be Hodson? It's going to be Gotter, just about squeezing on through as they head through the cutting, and that was some brave racing.
4 cars under a blanket for a top 10 here. These guys all right on top of each other, and that was a great move by Gata to get to the outside of Hodgson behind him going into, I believe that corner was the Quarry Bend, so it's a great job from him as they head towards Skyline, and if Hodgson wants to make a move back, he's going to have to wait all the way till the Conrad straight, unless he's feeling really brave here as they head towards the S's, which this is where these guys are just going to have to stay single file and try and stay consistent here. It's notorious for not being able to pass in this section of racetrack and in all manner of whatever cars come to race here. So through Forest Elbow, this is where Hodgson could try and make a move to get back around here. But Fletcher back there could also make a move to try and get around Schultes there, who has Guzenda and the second place amateur driver, Sancinelli, right behind him. So Schultes could be in a bit of trouble if Fletcher does make a move, and he did back there. If you take a look at the leaderboard, they are swapped, and it looks like Fletcher got clear of Schultes before they even got to the chase. So it looks like Schultes could be in a bit of trouble here as we take a look at the replay. Fletcher just goes straight to the outside of that 269 car, and that just gets clear, 299 car, not 269, and that gets Fletcher clear of him before they even get to the chase. So that damage that you see on the left front of it, that was Schultes' car, who actually has come into the pits, could be hindering that racing ability of that Ford Mustang.
Well, it's a fixed setup series, so either he's got some serious problems on his exit speed, or that car is actually in a bit of a spot of bother. I'd suggest it's actually in a great deal of bother at the moment. We see Clint Fletcher and then quickly switch back to Brian Howard. This is a move for 4th position overall between Stout and Howard, and they rather not contest this too much. It's 2 different classes, which is going to be quite the interesting one. Howard just about ahead at this stage, and he doesn't look to be under a great deal of pressure, really. It seems to be much the same as Aero Norm and Luis Enriquez, in that there's a low gap, but they're not really interested in battling each other, nor is there too much pace. Perhaps Stout will try something into that final sequence of corners down that straight, and in fact he is closing the gap quite considerably as they head down into Forest Elbow. Is he going to be able to make a move down this back straight? I wonder. Look at them as they just crest over the hill here down into the straight. Is there going to be a move by Stout? 0.4 of a second is the gap, and it looks a lot more considerable when you see it from the rear angle. It looks like he's just a little bit too far back, not having the straight line speed over Howard.
Yeah, the draft really isn't doing that much for these guys down these straights. They can maybe make up maybe a 1/10 and a quarter here. So not too much considerable changes here. And it looks like these guys are just minding their own business, waiting for the pit stops and just trying to keep their cars clean to try and take advantage of maybe some late race quarrels to try and take the win for themselves. And Joseph Stout also leading the Challenger class probably just doesn't want to get that car into any sort of trouble.
Zero knob and Luis Enriquez are a little bit closer now. Enriquez was faster on that previous lap. That being said, there's a little bit of damage for Enriquez on that right front, and I would suggest that that's happened within the last few moments because he was significantly faster on the previous lap, and that gap has just gone up to 0.8 of a second once more. So that's fairly recent damage. Aero Nom is still holding on to this one. Actually, I think you can hear there is that's a hint of a lift from Aero Nom heading through that corner. Listen again as he goes into another braking zone to see if he does it again. It sounds like there might just be a hint of lift and coasting from Aero Nom. I think that just about proves my point. I think he's fuel saving here.
Yeah, and it could also be a little bit of mind games to try and get Enriquez to think that he is faster when really Aeronom can just step on it at any given time and just pull right away from that number 8 car. So smart driving from Aeronom to try and save some fuel in that number 1 machine as we head towards, we are 5 minutes away from the halfway point in this race, and it looks like these guys, I believe they will have to pit to make it to the end of this race just like they had to last week at Imola. So We just have to wait till the pit stops, and really a point where somebody could make a move. We saw it last night in the Cross Touring Cup, and a point where somebody could make a move could be in the pit lane is Jay Little heading into the cutting here in that number 281 car. There's a gaggle of cars in front of him. Looks like he's minding his own business here, heading through the park corner zone. Oh, that looks like an equipment failure. If anything, he just went straight there. I'm not sure what could have happened to him.
Well, regardless, he's out of the race. But, well, as we see Brandon Carl, I think we'll take a moment, Alex, to tell you about another one of the sponsors that are so generously helping fund this series. And let's talk about the Simpit, who have got high-quality 3D printed trophies that have been provided to the series by the Simpit. It's a website, video show, and a community built for sim racers to find information about the hobby. The ultimate purpose of the Simpit is to make sim racers faster and more informed. You can search the Simpit on YouTube to check out their website, or check out their website, I should say. Is Brandon Cole under a little bit of pressure there, and Clark has got through on him. But yes, head to thesimpit.com for more details.
Yeah, and during that, you should have seen trophies up on your screen that were used for last season for the SBO Network's American Muscle Series, and something else as well for Brandon Carl here in that number 277 car as he heads down the pit straight. And the amateur division is generously brought to you by one of our own amateur drivers, Brandon Carl, and his Twitch channel, BCXCarl. Go show him some support for him supporting the SBO Network's American Muscle Series, and give him a follow at www.twitch.tv/BCXCarl. That's www.twitch.tv/BCXCarl. So a big shout out to him for supporting the series and being one of the main guys to help keep the American Muscle Series world moving. As he's in that Honda Mustang there, if you can see the logo on the front end of that hood, and it looks like he actually just got passed there by Clark up in front of him, so into the chase last lap. So he's still doing a pretty good job for himself, P4 in class in that number 277 car.
Sancinelli is going along fairly nicely in the number 257. He currently leads the way in the amateur class, and I'm not too sure what's happened there to make him lead the way, as I'm suggesting maybe Schultes has pit, or was he involved in an incident? I'm not too sure. I would suggest perhaps he's pit. Let me allow you to talk for a moment, Alex, and I'll see if I can refer to my timing screen to see what's going on there.
As Schultes, he was leading this race. It looks like probably went into pit road or had some damage or crashed or something, and now he's fallen back. Yeah, he's on pit road now. He's fallen back to 11th, and there he is, just sitting on pit road there at the moment, actually, as it looks like bit of an error happening on my screen, as it looks like you guys might be seeing him heading up the mountain straight here for yourselves. So I'll see if I can figure that out on mine. And that's actually into the chase there, I could see for a moment.
He went
could have been an incident there.
It was an incident. He went into the grass. He was damaged and has gone into the pits. It was on lap 7. He pit apparently, and well, you can see why on the screen, but really a damaged car, and that's rather gifted. Sancinelli the lead of the race. And
Sancinelli there is doing pretty good here, as we see Brian Howard, who could be falling under a bit of pressure for the leader of the Challenger class behind him. And speaking of the Challenger class, I believe there was just a pass for second in the Challenger class there, as I believe Jay Bass got past Keck there for second. We'll see if we can swap to them real quick, because they're probably heading into the quarry bend. And here we go, as we see Brian Howard heading into, there's Phil Keck here. Looks like he just got passed by the new second place driver of Jay Bass in his 153 machine. Looks like he has a bit of front right fender damage there, which is just really characteristic of these cars at this circuit, and just makes you wonder if just with how on the edge these guys are pushing these cars to, it could lead to a bit of damage for them. As actually, I do believe that Lebano just got by Blair for second in the amateur class, so battles just happening all over the place right now.
As here's a replay of Chuck Labano making a move. He goes around the outside, and that is wildly brave. And he's actually got the move there before the corner. That is incredible. I wonder if we can get an onboard shot of that from the other car, because that was absolutely too superb. That was a pass on the number 236. Chuck Labano absolutely sending one around the outside. That was mightily impressive indeed.
Yeah, and here we go. As Phil Keck looks like trying to use the slipstream to get past Jay Bass, but he's going to have to settle for third for now until they get to another passing opportunity, which for these guys is going to probably be the mountain straight after Hell Corner. But actually, the 153 car of Jay Bass is off track. A really well done save for him, as actually these two are now going to go side by side into Murray's corner. And it looks like Keck is going to take back second place before they even get there. So Bast with a really great move, but before the lap is even over, Keck just comes right back around him to take back second in the Challenger class once more.
Lovely little battle between the two of them at the moment as we...
Scotty Banks in P3 here overall, chasing Luis Henriquez, who has fallen off of Aeronam just a tad. And it looks like Henriquez might have burned up his tires a little bit, which would lead to a bit slower lap times here. And where Scotty Banks is going to have to make this move, if he so wants to, is going to have to be down the Conrad Straight, as there really are no places to pass up through this tough middle sector here. And his last chance is probably expiring right there into... Got to figure out what park corner that is. There's quite a few of them. That was into Solomon Park there. Now they're heading through McPhillamy Park and down into Skyline. So Scotty Banks now committed to waiting until the Conrad Straight if he wants to make a move. But it looks like he has a slightly better line than what Henriquez does as they head into the Dipper. So as they head towards Forest Elbow, looks like Scotty Banks, he might be close enough to try and make something happen here. But while we keep an eye on this battle, let's take a second to go to another one of our sponsors here. This time it's going to be Xtreme Scoring, which is a league management software that eliminates the need for spreadsheets and manual tracking of your driver's stats. With extensive multi-level scoring combinations and automated widgets, you can create a professional display for the drivers and fans of your series. Take your league scoring to a new level by visiting xtremescoring.info today. Once again, that's Xtreme Scoring with an X, no E before it, just an X, xtremescoring.info today. So big shout out to them for helping fund the SBO Network's American Muscle Series, as Scotty Banks wasn't able to make that move into the chase and still has to settle for third, but down into the mountain straight, I think he might be able to make a move here.
As yes, getting into that stage of the race now where you really have to start pushing and start making those moves forward. You've gone past the stage of trying to save fuel. As we head into those stages, those pit stops are going to start to happen.
Yeah, and looks like he's very close there, but it looks like he could have lifted a bit there. I'm not sure why he lost a bit of time on the end of that straight there. Could be that front end damage hindering that Mustang, but he's still going to have to settle for third, and if he doesn't make one soon, he's going to have to settle for it all the way up until the Conrad Straight once again. But it looks like a little bit of oversteer heading into the cutting from Henriquez. I don't know if that was just me who saw that, but up into the park corners at the top of the hill, still ascending there as Aeronam fades off into the distance. This has now become a battle for the podium places in the Pro Class.
And well, that Pro Class being the top of the pile, absolutely the class that everyone wants to be in. And remember that there is going to be some evaluations of the classes that everyone is in, so you want to be impressing as much as you can at this stage in the season. These guys clearly doing that at the moment, battling absolutely tooth and nail.
Yeah, and now heading to the Forest Elbow for those guys is now we take a look in the 296 car, who was also heading into the Forest Elbows at the time of this. Ooh, actually, that's a car unsettled way in front of him there. It looked like he got onto the grass, hit a bump, hit the retaining wall, and just went nose first into it. I wonder who that car in front of him was, who also hit that wall there. Looks like we're going to be able to see it right now. Looks like it might have been Roy Baker in the number 180 car. Yes, it was here. He heads into the Forest Elbow in that Simpit Ford Mustang. Looks like, ooh, just goes out too wide, hits the wall, ends up bouncing the front end, and just ends up rolling it into both retaining walls. And it looks like trying to miss it, Kenny Meadows got involved in the process. And very unfortunate for those two drivers who were having great days for themselves. But who's having an even better day? That's Scotty Banks right now, trying to chase down Luis Enriquez in front of him. And even if he doesn't want to go for a move, he can make one really at any given time here, so long as he maintains this gap. And now he's got a good draft run. I would say if he tries to go for a move at any moment, it could be right now, as that gap's still closing as they ascend up the hill. Those cars inching ever closer together. Now he dives to the inside and up into turn 2, the quarry bend. Scotty Banks is going to take second position away from Luis Enriquez. A great move by himself.
He's got through, but that car looking rather damaged. A car in the background as well looking rather damaged as well. So really, the mountain taking some people prisoner here. Not really affecting Scotty Banks a great deal, though, and he's got through for the move for second position. And really impressing, as I believe something has happened to Dave Blair. And we'll have a quick look, and I'm going to hand it off to Alex. So something's up with my picture as we watch David Blair.
And it looks like David Blair up into the cutting, racing with another car there. And it looks like he just lost it going into the cutting. Just the rear end snapped around on him under braking here. It looks like he hits the walls a few more times trying to get the car turned around and out of the way here, as that's really a one-lane part of the circuit. You have to go inside to out. You have to go outside, inside, outside pretty much for that hairpin. Is Luis Enriquez could have a second bite at the cherry to try and maintain the second podium place for the pro class down the Conrad Straight. I'm not sure if the draft is going to help him all that much, as these cars are both pretty damaged here, but it could help Scotty Banks, Luis Enriquez a little bit more as they head towards the chase here. Looks like Enriquez not close enough to make a move on this occasion, and coming to the stripe, Scotty Banks is going to have second for this lap, but Luis Enriquez could possibly make a move here. And my question right now is I thought that these guys had to make a move into the pit lane to pit for fuel at least once this race. So, Tom, I want your take on it, because it's a question that's been in my mind for a few minutes now. Do you think these guys are going to have to come into the pits for fuel?
It's my understanding that they will have to, through my knowledge. It has been the case all season long, so I'm expecting them to have to take a short stop towards the end for a couple of gallons, as it's gallons in this series, properly American. Litres don't exist here. As you can see, the first pit stop's being taken, so right on cue, as we see Jesse Hodgson leading away, and he's going to stay out for another lap or so. So yes, the answer to that question is you've given me a perfect opportunity to answer properly. Yes, I do think so.
Yeah, that was Fletcher Gata, Guzenda, and Edgar Sancinelli pulling into the pits that lap. That confirms that these guys are going to have to stop once in this race, whether it's for a small amount of fuel or a large amount of fuel. And while the green flag pit stops start to get underway, we're going to get our last sponsor read out of the way here, and it is the title sponsor for the SBO Network's American Muscle Series, and you guessed it, it's SBO Networks, which SBO Networks Incorporated is actively exploring potential acquisitions and opportunities in diversified industries, including solid waste, scrap metal recycling, and demolition with special waste remediation. I think I said that right. Additionally, SBO maintains the belief that patients and customers have a right to high-quality, economical, and clinically validated cannabis products. Towards this, SBO aims at medical and recreational cannabis and genetic seed operations with the expectation of rapid expansion in the cannabis industry. For more information, please go to https:// https://www.sboinow.com. Once again, that is https://www.sboinow.com. Back to the racing action here from Mount Panorama Circuit. We're still looking at Scotty Banks, who still has Luis Henriquez right on his tail here as they head through the chase on lap 13 of this race. Only 9 minutes remaining in this race. It seems like it has flown by, and it looks like these two are going to pull into the pits this lap as Aeronam did the same thing in front of him. And this is where the race could get really interesting, because we've seen it happen in XTCs. We did see it happen last night, actually, as Luis Enriquez could have gotten a speeding penalty there.
They've almost careered into each other heading into the pit lane. As in chat, Most Mint is saying Banks will have a hard time staying ahead with that front end damage, and you have to agree as Jay Bast comes into the pits as well.
He's overcooked it a little
bit, and that's the downside of cars without speed limiters. As Sega says, well, that's a lot of technical words about SPO networks, and it is a lot of technical. Oh no, not about SPO networks. That's a slang word for cannabis, and yes, very technical words. But you could go and check out their products, and I'm sure they're doing just fine. But yes, Stout gets into the lead of the race. He still has to pit, but if he's able to stay out for another 8 minutes, and that would be quite spectacular to have a challenger winning the race. Aeronom is back out ahead. Scotty Banks has actually gained a little bit of time on Luis Enriquez, who is now 1.7 seconds back ahead of the wounded number 51 car. So Banks at the moment is looking pretty good for this second position despite his significant damage.
Yeah, but in the process, it does look like he did lose 2.5 to 3 seconds on Aeronam, who has stolen the show on the racetrack and stole the show off of pit road as Stout gets on the grass a little bit there. And Aeronam really just pulled that gap out a crap ton compared to what he was doing the rest of this race there when he pulled into the pit lane. So we know he's a great driver on the racetrack, and I guess he and his crew are also great drivers and crew workers in the pit lane. So a great job from him in this race. And it looks like unless Stout could try to stay out for the remaining of this race. Yeah, that rhymed a little bit. Joseph Stout, stay out. But if he does try that strategy, I mean, Aeronam is only 9.5 seconds back, and for how fast he is, that's not that much. But Chuck Lebano, I don't believe he has pitted yet, and he currently leads this race for the amateur class, and he could be of the same opinion that, hey, maybe I can try and stay out for the full 40 minutes and try and win myself a race after Santinelli and the rest of the field pitted.
You'd have to be fuel saving throughout the entirety of this race. There is no doubt about that. We're on lap 14 at the moment. Stout is into the pits, so he is going to relinquish his lead of the race. 2 minute 25.7 his previous lap. 44 seconds behind to Bast. He might just about stay in the lead of this race. Here is Aeronam. He is leading overall, leading in the pro class as well. He's just got that overall lead back, and 4 seconds back to Scotty Banks. David Climber into the pits at this stage too. The question is going to be, can Stout get out of the pits by the time before Bast gets through himself? The question is absolutely yes. He's at pit exit now. You couldn't see in the top of your picture, but that's where he was trying. As Moscow says, no, he's in his own time zone at the moment. He absolutely is. 4 seconds back. Here is Stout back out of the pits. He's got a healthy gap behind of about 15 seconds or so to Bast. So at the moment, with Lebano into the pits, Santinelli just behind him. The real question is Santinelli going to be able to get through before Lebano exits the pits? This is going to be an exciting moment in the race. You would suggest that he can, but actually Lebano is just at pit exit now, so Santinelli might have just at that moment lost this race. There is Lebano. Is Santinelli going to be able to get ahead? It's going to be rather close, you know, and I think just about it's going to be Santinelli that he's going to have to make a move here, and in fact I'm stood corrected. Lebano is ahead of Santinelli.
Yeah, and just that extra lap of staying out means just a slightly amount of less time spent in the pit lane, and because of that, Chuck Lebano is now your race leader. for the amateur class. So a great job by him to really mess with this strategy here to take the lead. But I would say Edgar Sancinelli has a bit more pace. He has warm tires and warm brakes in that number 257 machine. So Chuck Labano, he's going to have to be on the lookout for the rest of this race in the final 4 minutes, which is really going to be 2 laps for these guys. And coming to the white flag here, maybe for Aeronam here, we have to see where he is on track, and that'll decide whether it's going to be a 2-minute race to the, or a 2-lap race to the finish, or a 1-lap race to the finish. Actually, I don't even know what I was talking about. They have over 3 minutes remaining, so it's definitely going to be 2 laps to the finish here for these guys. As Aeronam comes to take what I assume is 2 laps to go, as he has a lap car in front of him. An astonishing race from him, but we want to keep an eye on the amateur race for the lead here, as Edgar Sancinelli is really closing that gap down right now, which means they could be on the Conrad Straight. No, actually, they're heading into Forest Elbow just before the Conrad Straight, so Sancinelli with, I would say, what a better exit down the Conrad Straight. He might be close enough to make a move here, and if not, definitely up the mountain straight.
He's going to try his best, that's for certain, is Edgar Sancinelli. Here he comes. He's going to have probably 2 more laps after this one to get this move done for the lead of the race in the amateur division. Edgar Sancinelli just still behind. There's a bit of traffic just ahead of them. There was a hint of grass for Labano at that stage, and now Sancinelli is all over the back of the leader in that class. Is Sancinelli going to be able to go for a move? He's going to certainly give it a go down into the final corner, then thinks against it rather quickly. The number 52 is rather in the way here, you would have to say, but Sancinelli will fancy every opportunity he's got down into Hell's Corner. He's still behind Edgar Sancinelli. He can't make a move into Hell's Corner, far too tight, and I think maybe a little bit deep for Labano as they now head down the straight down into the right-hander. Indeed, it's a right-hander at that corner. It is the Quarry Bend. Down the mountain straight they go. Is Sancinelli going to be close enough? You wouldn't think so. Labano is going to go a little bit defensive down into the Quarry Bend, and Sancinelli, despite showing his nose, certainly not getting through there. It's smart driving from Sancinelli though. He knows that this is off-putting the car ahead of him. There's also someone stopped in the background.
You're not sure who that was. That might have been Jesse Hodgson there, who just fell back to 10th and is now in the pit lane here. See if we can get a replay on that. And while we were covering this battle for the win in the amateur class, it looks like Clint Fletcher may have gotten around David Clymer there for 5th in the pro class. So another thing we can see if we can get a replay for you guys here. As here is Clint Fletcher here getting around that 42 car of David Clymer. It looks like he got a better run out of the chase and used it to shoot to the outside of the kink. And as he blinks a little bit there, he got the move done into Murray's corner to take 2 laps to go for himself here. But let's get back to the race for the lead of the amateur class, which is now still extremely close together, as Edgar Sancinelli just riding the back bumper of Chuck Lebano here as they head into Forest Elbow to coming to the white flag here. And there they
will, because of the pro class. I was going to question, Alex, I'm sorry to cut you off there, whether they were going to get the white flag on this occasion or the checker flag. But I shouldn't speak so soon, because Edgar Sancinelli might not need a white flag to do this. He's alongside immediately, and I think he's actually been let through there by Chuck Labano, as Chuck did not want to battle that at all. Sancinelli makes the move for the lead of the race, and I think Chuck Labano there was actually letting him through with the view to attack him on this next lap, Alex.
Yeah, that would be a very smart idea. As actually, Sancinelli has overcooked it there, which is going to allow Chuck Labano to stay right with him towards Murray's corner. Aeronam has already taken the white flag and is probably somewhere on the mountain straight right now, so that race is already pretty much settled for itself, but we have one for the lead of a different classes. There you see the flag man on the left side of your screen behind the leaderboard waving the white flag. It's the final lap here at Bathurst for the SBO Network's American Muscle Series. Labano needs a good corner here if he wants to try something up the mountain straight. That's exactly what he's going to get here. He's going to make up some time using the slipstream. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. No, he's letting off there. He just let off a little bit, or what could have happened is that could be the engine cutting out due to him losing fuel, but I feel like it would be a lot more consistent, probably would have happened already to that number 202 car, and Chuck Labano has now dropped that gap down quite a bit as they head up towards the cutting, but back up towards the lead. Aeronom is already down the Conrad straight here. Another flawless race by him on pole, leads every lap of the race except for one during green flag pit stop, so it's almost a grand slam, but it might as well be one on its own. Aeronom through the chase, out of the kink, heads towards Murray's corner, knowing he has victory in hand so long as he stays safe through here. And into Murray's corner early on the brakes just to not overcook it. And through the last corner, you see the flagman waving the checkered flag down to the pit lane. And Aeronom has won once again here at Bathurst in the SBO Network's American Muscle Series. And there's battles all throughout the field. Go down to 8th place. You can see Fletcher and Ronenberg racing what I assume is down the Conrad straight there. As Fletcher has gotten the lead here through the chase. Ronenberg can't give up though. He's going to dive to the inside into the chase. This is going to get really close here as it looks like they both overcooked the corner just a tad. Ronenberg ends up getting the better of it, and here comes David Clymer to try something. He could get up to Ronenberg as well. No, Ronenberg's out of gas. Ronenberg's out of gas. That's contact between the 42 and the 04. Ronenberg could try there. He's going to have to roll to the finish line. Can't get up to Clint Fletcher. Fletcher wins that battle, and Sancinelli's
out. No, LeBlanc out. What's happened?
There's a car upside down.
Oh my word.
Labano's blown his engine. We can go back to live. The driver in third could win this race.
We have got a replay here of what has happened to Edgar Sancinelli, and someone's crash. It's not his fault at all. It's not his fault at all. Edgar Sancinelli, he's out of the race at the final opportunity. Someone is on his roof.
Go back to live. The car that was in third, Brandon Carl, out of nowhere, wins the amateur class here at Bathurst. What have we just witnessed?
Sancinelli will get classified, but I don't think he'll get points here, as he is out of the race. He's had to go to the pit lane. That is such drama at the end of this race, and you have to feel for Edgar Sancinelli. He was absolutely the innocent party there. He had that won.
Well, we need to see another replay of that. That was absolutely incredible. I don't know who that was in that blue Mustang that just overcooked it, heading towards the kink before the chase here. This is David Clymer and Clint Fletcher here. Ronenberg in front of them, runs out of gas, heading towards Murray's corner there. Clymer goes for a move, and it looks like he just comes over the track too far, hits the curb, bounces over it, and slides off track. That gives Fletcher the better of that spot there. And those three, it looks like... Actually, no, I think Fletcher also ran out of fuel. He's slow up there. So I don't know if Fletcher did get that position or if it was Ronenberg, but here's what happened to Sancinelli. There was a blue car up there. I'm not sure who it was. Sorry to interrupt you there, Tom, but going into the chase, it looks like he overcooked it, caught on the grass, and it really upset the rear end of that car. And I think the reason why that blue Mustang was upside down is because Chuck Labano, or the car behind him, no, that would have been Chuck Labano, looks like just hit that blue Mustang. So we'll see if we can go back and see from Chuck Labano's view, but chaos on the last lap at Bathurst.
Let's see it once more. Chuck Labano and Edgar Sancinelli. I don't quite have it on my screen at the moment. I think the replay is just queuing itself up. But what I think happened there was the blue car, whoever it may be, got onto the grass, spun around, and then you can see Chuck Labano wasn't able to avoid it because he was just too close behind. And
sorry,
you can see there, as well, I actually can see the replay on the YouTube screen, and I think exactly what I said happened, is Chuck Labano just wasn't close enough. He tried to get out of the way, the blue car, and then actually, I can see now what's happened. I apologise to, this is a little bit of a radio commentary, but no, the blue car tried to get out of the way. He spun around, and then it was a little bit like ping pong, where Chuck Labano actually put him into Edgar Sancinelli, and that is how that finished. We've got a group jump to broadcast, however.
over the chase jump here real quick. We'll see if we can get the race results in. Aero Nam wins the race once again. Scotty Banks in second. Luis Enriquez P3. Brian Howard in fourth. Joseph Stout wins in the Challenger class. Jay Bast in sixth. Phil Keck in seventh. Clint Fletcher in eighth. Eric Ronenberg in ninth. Jason Gata in 10th. David Clymer in 11th, Matthew Guzenda in 12th, Roger Clark in 13th, Michael Puchik in 14th, Brandon Carl comes out of nowhere to steal the win in the amateur class in 15th, Matthew Thompson in 16th, Mike Thompson steals a podium in 17th for the amateur class, Scott Brooks in 18th, and then it is David Blair in 19th, Brian Nagy in 20th, Mike Taylor in 21st, Edgar Sancinelli in 22nd, Chuck Labano in 23rd, Stefan Price in 24th. As here they are, they've already hit the jump there. Jesse Odson in 25th, Martin Bork in 26th, Kenny Meadows in 27th, Roy Baker 28th, Michael Key 29th, Jay Little 31st. As there's chaos in the background. Somebody's over the wall and back into the pits when Chris Schultes in 31st after an unfortunate series of events. Mike Nickham at 32nd and Tom Wendt in 33rd. There is a bunch of destroyed Ford Mustangs after trying to land the jump in the chase there. As we'll see if we can take a look at everybody going through that. There's cars all over the place destroyed under the Armor All Bridge. And just what a fantastic race from everybody.
Yep. And that drama in the end, you have to feel for Edgar Sancinelli. But let's drag in the winner overall. Let's drag in Aero Nom. And I have to quickly mess with my Discord to get him into the booth. Aero, that was pretty much, well, for you anyway, not for the rest of the field, but about as easy of a win as they come.
Yeah, I was able to pull a gap in the first lap, but then I think it took it too safely and able to catch up. And the draft is huge here, almost everywhere. Only the downhill I can get away.
Did you think, were you at all sort of fuel saving in that first stint when they did catch up? I did say that you definitely had more pace in the bag. Was it a case of fuel saving or just not quite managing your race as well as you have hoped?
Yeah, it was just shaving, not making mistake, hitting the wall, so not much shaving.
And well, 2 wins on the trot. You must be thinking that you're going to continue to dominate this championship as we head into the rest of this season.
Yeah, let's see. There will be more challenges next races. I think the Matt and someone else was missing today, so have to see.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Aero, and very well done today as well.
Thanks, guys.
That was the winner in the pro class. We'll quickly drag in Brandon Carr. And
Brandon, you mind if I take this one from you, Tom, if you don't mind? And Brandon, I don't know what to say there. An unfortunate incident caused by what I believe was a lapped car there going into the chase, and it ends up with you, one of our sponsors here for the SBO Network's American Muscle Series, with the win at the end of the day, stealing it from the other two. I mean, how's it feel, man? Like you're muted on your end.
Adam, Brandon, sorry, we can hear you on your stream, but not on not on Discord. I've just heard you answer the question, but not on the Discord. You might want to unmute yourself on the Discord. You are talking on your stream. I can see you, but not on Discord. I think he's having a listen.
The anticipation builds as we see.
I don't know if you can hear me, Brandon, but I can see you chatting away on your stream.
Yeah, try and put something in. Try and put something in.
Oh, dear Lord. There we go.
There he is.
There we go. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was honestly just happy to be running third because I was checking in my standings. I was like, oh, look, I'm third in class. That's pretty cool. That's a good point stay. And then all of a sudden, I gained 2 positions at the end. I looked at the final standings, like, holy bleep! I just effing won the race in the M class. Yeah. I looked at the replay there. I just caught a glimpse of it. I had like your guys' broadcast on the mini stream there, and I just saw, one of the lap cars get into the leader, and then Edgar Sancinelli, the second place driver in class, just smashed into him, and all of a sudden, I I I came out and I just looked at the standings like, oh my gosh, I just won this race.
That was a really insane finish, and I mean, you were doing third before that incident, which I mean is still a great result. I mean, we know how challenging this circuit is, for at least from my standpoint and from a lot of other drivers' standpoint. But how was driving this Mustang around here for you today?
Oh, it was fun. It's always fun to run the Mustangs here. I don't know what to say. Holy cow! Yeah, it's always fun to run the Mustangs here. It's a really challenging car on this track. It's a really fun league. It's a very strong league. I'm just excited to finish 15th overall. This is a very stacked field. Randall McGrew once again putting together a really, really, really strong league. And it kind of the sponsorship opportunity with him kind of came up. I was just joking one day. Maybe had a few to drink. I was like, hey, I saw an AM car finish second or third last year. I bet you an AM driver can win. I'm gonna put my original bet was I'm gonna put $100 down for anybody who could run and win overall in an AM car. And he kind of just, the dialogue went from there, and then one thing led to another, and now I'm the sponsor of the AM division. So it's pretty cool to get my logo out there and kind of broaden my channel a bit.
Yeah, definitely. It's actually, Brandon, I don't want to pull up something midstream, but I do actually think that I have raced against you in the past in what probably is an 87s at Talladega race, because I do remember seeing you put your Twitch link in chat, and I do remember following it. So if that did happen, it's nice to see you again, and congrats on the win here tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Congrats to Arrow. He's just astounding in this league. And he's starting to help other drivers too. Every week he just posts his fastest lap in Discord, and it's just crazy how he can just wheel just this Mustang around any track at any time. That man's a legend.
Yeah, it definitely is. We're going to drag you back to the waiting room. It's been awesome talking to you. Congrats on the win and the 15th overall. We'll see you later.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and that was Brandon Carl, the winner of the amateur class, and we're looking for Stout here, and I don't believe we're gonna get an interview with him or really anyone else for that matter. So for now, that is what we have for you guys tonight, unless Stout pops in quickly here.
I think we'll just round out the stream, Alex, because it's not like he hasn't had time.
Yeah, so it looks like that is going to be it for us. And I mean, just once again, a fantastic race from the SBO Network's American Muscle Series. I mean, I couldn't have asked for much more. I mean, Tom, let's hear your take on it, because I thought it was fantastic.
To feel for Edgar Sancinelli, he drove absolutely superbly in a race that was given such an exciting ending on track, to then have it so cruelly taken away from both Sancinelli and the car that he was battling is so unfortunate.
Yeah, but still a great race from everybody involved. And before we sign off, our next broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting here this Thursday night, the Spec 5 World Tour returns at 9:15 p.m. EST. The Mazda MX-5s at Sebring, which we know how those guys race. You're not going to want to miss that. And this Sunday night as well, we have some Heat Dirt Oval racing in Knoxville, and that's XSLR at 8:10 p.m. EST, which once again is the Winged Dirt Sprint 410s at Knoxville Raceway. Again, you're not going to want to miss that. Our second ever dirt and oval race mixed into one year on Slow Motion Broadcasting, so it's going to be a good one. Then next Tuesday night, if you see another stream on the Slow Motion Broadcasting YouTube channel, that's because WSRL runs alongside here with us. They started about 10 minutes earlier at 9 p.m. EST, and they're doing the exact same thing next Tuesday at the same time, which is LMP2s and GT3s, and that's going to be at Fuji Speedway. And then next week for us, covering AMS at 9:10 p.m. EST on Tuesday. Once again, the Mustang FR500s at Watkins Glen. And not next week, but the week after is going to be XTC returning once again for an hour-and-a-half long race at Circuit of the Americas. But that's going to do it for us here from Bathurst. My name is Alex Andersen. I have been joined in the commentary booth by Tom Dillon, with Robert Schwenkler running the virtual production camera truck booth thing, whatever. So big thanks to Rob and Tom for joining me up here. And this has been round 3 of season 3 of the SBO Network's American Muscle Series from Bathurst. And everyone, have a good night.
Allow Xtreme Scoring to do the work for you.